Okay, I gotta get it right this time. Okay, so my issue is BLM and police brutality. I don't know if I'll have time for the BLM, but we'll see. And my thesis is police brutality is not as bad as it seems. My counter argument is... Yeah, my counter argument for police brutality is, yes, it is a issue, just not as bad as they make it. And my thesis for BLM, if I ever get to it, is that BLM is not a good organization to support. And then my counter argument is BLM is a good movement if they're just holding signs and talking. But okay, so we're first thing is first, which is the police brutality. And this is, I'll just play this one from the beginning.
We're joined on the line by former police officer and founder of TatumReport.com, Brandon Tatum. Brandon served 6 years with the Tucson Police Department. During his tenure, Tatum became a SWAT operator, field training officer, general instructor, and public information officer. Brandon, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben, for having me on.
So there's obviously a lot of talk about policing these days, so let's talk about some of the misconceptions about police. We've been hearing from Joe Biden and from many Democrats and many members of the media that the police departments across the country are systemically racist. They seem not to be able to actually explain what that term means.
How can an entire police force be systemically racist? I don't know.
Specifically, what's your take on the allegation that police across the country are systemically racist?
I think it's completely idiotic. I mean, the fact that they cannot point to a single incident that we all can work together to fix, they have to say it's systemic. They have to create this boogeyman. I mean, I was a police officer for 6.5 years. I worked on a police department that was primarily white and Hispanic. I never saw a racist police officer. Now, do they exist? Yeah, they probably do. But I have never seen it, and I have worked in communities of color. I've worked in white communities and as such. Most police officers are just worried about getting home, and they're worried about getting killed. And believe it or not, there's other people than black people who can kill police officers, and that's pretty much what most police officers focus on.
So, Brandon, some of the other things that people seem to believe about the police are completely fictitious, of course. They seem to think that police officers have magical abilities to subdue suspects without ever engaging in actual use of force. And so they have these very weird perceptions of what sorts of use of force are okay and what sorts of use of force are not. So, for example, you have Joe Biden claiming that the officers in Kenosha should be charged, presumably with excessive force or attempted murder. In the case of Jacob Blake, I've been talking on the show for a while about that particular case. They picked an extraordinarily poor example, considering there was an open warrant for sexual assault and domestic abuse, that they were called to the scene because he had allegedly just digitally raped a woman with her kid in the...
He goes on to talk about Brandon Taylor, but he had multiple warrants out for his arrest, and he had reached for a knife in the floorboard of his car. I think it was actually a van. And they tried to take him down using tasers and other things, and then let's go to here. Okay, so this is a number of people shot to death. Not just shot in general, just to death by police. It is 242 for whites, and then for black it's 123. For Hispanic it's 80, and then for the other little bit, like for the others it's like only 15 or something. And then these, I don't know what's the unknown, like what's unknown. I don't know what that is. And then this is a police officer who had gotten called for a noise complaint. And if they are all supposedly racist or bad cops, I don't think he would have played basketball with these kids.
Oh no, now you got back up.
And they just go on to play the game for a while. And It's just the media really makes it seem a lot worse than it is for police brutality, because they just kind of, they don't really say why the guy's being shot or what he did before that to get shot. Mostly just that they don't say what he did before that to get shot. And then I'm going to move on to why I don't like BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, so they're called the Beer Bandit. Oh, I really need an ad blocker. This person was called the Beer Bandit, or these three people. These people downed elderly couple's drink at a Pittsburgh restaurant. Right. It's right here. They are being seen swiping a drink from an elderly white couple and then downing it in front of them before another person knocked the glass on the ground, which probably broke it. They identify that McDowell, the ringleader, was said to use a microphone and scream at the table, F the black people. Or, not F the black people, sorry, F the white people. It says it right there. F the white people. And then we're moving on to this. We're moving on to this video, I think. Ben Shapiro again. Yes, I know, people don't like him.
Okay, so here's what happens over the weekend. Patriot Prayer shows up in Portland. They're driving their trucks. They've got the Trump flags. And Antifa, because they own the streets and because the cops have been told to stand down, confrontation occurs. So the Patriot Prayer guys aren't shooting the members of Antifa who are trying to literally block traffic. Instead, they are macing them. So here's what some of the video looked like over the weekend. You can see they are firing mace from the windows to try and...
If you don't know what mace is, it's like a pepper spray. So they're not, like, hurting them badly. It's like a less powerful pepper spray.
Force the streets open, people getting out of the way. They were also firing paintballs at some of the...
Yet again, something that's not going to hurt a person too terribly bad. It's just going to send a message to get out of the road. They do not deserve to be in the road.
At some of the Antifa members.
And if you look, you see all this? That's all from Antifa members. They're just destroying buildings and everything like that.
Hey, is any of this good? Of course none of this is good. Where the hell are the cops? Where the hell are the feds? And the answer is Mayor Ted Wheeler is a garbage mayor. This stuff is predictable. When you leave the legitimate government monopoly on the use of force at the back door, then there will be something that fills the gap. And typically, it tends to be tribal violence. Okay, that is what you are seeing in the streets. Okay, then, a pro-Trump supporter was murdered. Literally just murdered on the streets. Okay, so here is the video. It's troubling, obviously. You can't see it particularly well.
I am not going to show you guys the video, but... Okay.
But that is your warning. So you will see a man in the background walk up to another man and literally just shoot him point blank. And what you seem to be able to hear in the background is, "We got a Trumper here." Right? We have a Trump supporter, so that means it's time to murder him, apparently. Here's what that sounded like.
I'm not going to show you guys that video. I'm just going to skip through that part, because you guys do not... I'd probably get in big trouble for showing you that, so...
He is indeed an Antifa member. He is not a white supremacist who committed this murder. Okay, according to the New York Post, an ex-military man who calls himself 100% Antifa, and ready for war, is being investigated over the deadly shooting of a President Trump supporter in Portland, according to a report. His name is Michael Forrest Reinl, 48. He's being investigated over the death of Aaron Danielson, a supporter of the right-wing Patriot Prayer group who was part of a caravan of Trump supporters who flooded the city Saturday, police sources told the Oregonian. He was identified in part by a distinctive tattoo on his neck of a black power fist. Seems he had some politics, as well as a call from his estranged sister, who recognized him in video and photos of the deadly attack. Apparently, he's estranged from most of the family, including his parents, after stealing from them. He regularly posts about Black Lives Matter and protests on his social media. He says, "I'm 100% Antifa all the way. I'm willing to fight for my brothers and sisters," insisting he would not run from the violence. Now, Here's the thing. He was cited at a July 5th protest on allegations of possessing a loaded gun in a public place, resisting arrest, and interfering with police. He was then given a date to appear in court later that month, but the allegations were dropped on July 30th with no complaints, according to court records. No reason was given. The Multnomah County District Attorney's Office said it was reviewing the case. This is literally a case of a person who committed a criminal act but was on the right side of the leftist narrative, being released without any charges because the city of Portland decides not to prosecute anymore people who engage in crime at these protests so long as they have the right perspective. And then he went out and he murdered somebody. Okay, the response from members of the crowd when they found out that this happened were twofold. One, misinformation immediately went around that a Trump supporter had shot a black man, because this is what happens now. Right? Any story is immediately filled in by the internet with innocent black man shot. Right? This just happened in Minneapolis when a black murder suspect literally killed himself.
Okay, so he goes on to talk about that, and then another couple videos of. But that's another reason. Like, how did he get away with shooting a innocent Trump supporter that was just standing out there? Makes no sense. And then these guys are the Confederate twins. They are two ex-Marines, I think. Let's go right. For some odd reason, it kind of went forward.
Yeah, the reason why I want to, this message is for white people. Yeah. Did y'all know that y'all actually are under attack in this country? I mean, if you don't know, you've been sleeping under a rock. Last 4 years, ever since Trump's been elected, I've been seeing white people minding their own business, walking down the road, walking their poodle, walking their cat, and I'm seeing these people hunted down like they're animals and beat up just for wearing a Trump hat. Yeah, like the RNC is, there was Black Lives Matter out there waiting for like Antifa.
Does that make any sense? Please. Why would you just go and chase down a Trump supporter, or even a white person for that matter, and be like, just trying to hurt them for no apparent reason? And my final topic on the whole Black Lives Matter is, yes? Dinner's ready. Okay. Sorry about that, I got interrupted and I'm not redoing this, because I'm like 12 minutes in. But one last thing on the BLM. He's not a great item, don't get me wrong. If they would just stop destroying and looting, and also they had killed a 6-year-old black girl, and they're Black Lives Matter protesters. To me, it don't seem like they really care about Black Lives, because they had destroyed, I think, it's so far 3 businesses that were black owned, and those businesses will not come back. But that's just my opinion. Thank you, and I'm sorry this video is so long. Thank you for cooperating and listening. Bye.